Morning, everybody. We are going to continue with our session of mathematics, paper 1. Last time we are looking at quadratic equations, and also we are going to continue with that. And we are going to begin with minimum, and maximum. Values. Beginning with minimum and maximum values of a quadratic equation. Now, for us to get the minimum and maximum values of a quadratic equation, there is something which we must first know. It is just got from the general equation of a quadratic, which is given by the general equation, which is given by y equals ax squared plus bx plus a c. So it is got from this equation that you get the maximum value of a quadratic equation. Now we're going straight away because you cannot get a quadratic equation from here, a minimum and maximum, but there is something which you have first to do so that you can get that value of a minimum or maximum. Now what we are going to do here, like the other time we said we can use a method of completing squares while getting the values of x. So when you are getting also the minimum and maximum values of a quadratic equation, what also is needed is to use the method of completing squares while getting that. So what we are going to do first, we are going, since we said that when you are completing squares, here on the value of x squared, the quotient of x squared must be with a degree of 1. So that's what we are going to do, making here a to become with a degree of 1. So what we do here, we said we divide, but since here we don't have an equal sign which is equal to 0, what we are going to do, we factorize out the a. What we do here, it is a into bracket. So when we factorize out a through this equation, this one will be, here we shall remain with only x squared. Then here it becomes plus b out of a, x. Then this one becomes plus c out of a. So when you multiply this one inside, you find that it is remain with something like that. So for that case, after factorizing out the a, so we are going now to the method of completing squares. We said when you are completing squares, this value b is, you let it to be any letter. Okay, let m be equal to b out of a. We say now, when we say m equals b out of a, what we do when you are completing squares, first divide it by 2. So that means this one is going to be divided by 2, also introduce it to the other side. So it becomes b out of 2a. So after dividing it by 2, so we square it now. Out of 2 squared, so what you do the other side, also do it this side, so which becomes b squared out of 4a squared. So after squaring, so that is what we shall get after dealing with the value of b, dividing it by 2 and also squaring it, we have this value. So for that case, we are continuing with our expansion. So which becomes y equals a into, so here it becomes x squared, and we say that this value which we get after dividing by 2 and squared, the other time we said when there's an equal sign the other side or equals to 0, we are supposed to first bring this c out of the other side so that we can add it on both sides. Now for this case it differs. It is different. Like now for this case, what we are going to do, we are not going to take it the other side since there is no equal sign which is connecting to 0. What we will do, we add it on b out of ax, then we subtract on c out of a. So that's what we are going to do. So let me try it. Let me modify this one, which will be b squared. So this one becomes 2. So this is what we are going to add here and subtract this side, since there is only an equal sign. So what we do, we say it is plus b out of a x, then also this side we add plus c, b out of 2a but squared. So it becomes now plus c out of a, then minus. So this is what I'm saying here. You add this side, you subtract, which is b out of 2a, the whole thing squared. So this is what we are dealing with. So we have brought in what we divided by 2 and what we squared. So we continue. We say that when you try to check on this one, you see how can you reduce this one, or which number can you square to have something like this. This one we saw that y equals a into which number can you square. It becomes, you said you choose this number here, which is x. Then you see here the sign which is in between, which is a plus. So it is plus. This side, we choose this one which is in the bracket, which is not squared. So it becomes b out of 2a. So we say then you introduce a square. That means when you square this one, you get exactly this one here. So we are continuing. This one is plus. So we are going now to deal with this. Here we said we get the LCM first. So when we get the LCM, it becomes this, and this becomes the 2a. So for the 2a, we divide this one by this one. We get, not yet a 2, because, it comes c out of a, then minus. When you square this one, it becomes b squared out of 4a squared. So when you introduce a square on each and everything here, which is in the bracket, you get that. So we are continuing that y equals a, then you open the bracket, it becomes x plus b out of 2a, which is squared. So here plus, we get the LCM as we said, which is 4a squared. So 4a squared divided by a, you get 4a, then times the c, which is 4sc. So after getting that, we continue this side, you get the LCM divided by that, which is 1 minus that one, which is a b squared. So this is what we get after expanding that. We are continuing. So we have reached this step. Now when it's on this step, that's where we determine now the minimum and the maximum value of the quadratic equation which is being given. So from there, say therefore the minimum and the maximum value of a quadratic equation is got when this one, x plus b out of 2 equals 0. So we get the value of the minimum and maximum of a quadratic equation when this one, the one which is in the bracket here, equals 0. And also it is is got when this one equals 0, and also the minimum and maximum value of a quadratic equation is this one now. Is got but when x is equal to this one, but also also it occurs on 4ac minus b squared out of 4a squared. So for this case, it occurs on this point. So that means the number which you get here, because all these ones are constants, the number which you get here, that will be either the maximum or the minimum. And we shall conclude that that maximum or minimum value which you have got here occurs or is got when x plus b out of 2 equals 0, like what we have said here. So that's how we can get the minimum and maximum value after doing this. So for that case, we are continuing. We write here a note. Now, writing a note, we are saying that when getting the minimum, that's right, like this. When the value of a is greater than 0, when the value of a is greater than 0, so that one will give us, this one gives, it gives the minimum value of the equation. Take an example. If the value of a, e.g., if a was maybe starting from 1, 2, 3, and so on, these values of a will give us a minimum value of a quadratic equation. So also when a is less than 0, when the value of a is less than 0, so for this case, this one gives the maximum value of the equation. So that's what we get. So e.g., when a equals -1, -2, -3, and so on, this one gives a maximum value of a quadratic equation. So that is what we have to look about that. So do not waste time. Let us begin with the example 1. We are beginning with example 1. We are going to first have a commercial break so that we can begin from the examples.